Alright, quick update on green Metaverse token. So I'm going to jump into the lower time frames in just a moment, but to start the video off, I wanted to clear up the chart and talk about the market structure very briefly. Now, what you'll notice is since the all-time high, we've had a capitulation, bounce up, lower high. 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 So it seems very evident to me. I mean, when you're looking out on the higher time frames, it's kind of hard to tell that this is still a lower high from 129. So if you do even want to be remotely bullish on green Metaverse token in the short term, you would need to see a very solid flip over the previous high up here at 129. In fact, I'd find it more preferable that we do this, come back to about 115 and back test the daily EMA ribbons before we do start to head to the upside. Now, let's snap back to reality, because in my opinion, that is not what we're going to see happen. Why do I think this is not what we're going to see happening? Well, what are we seeing right now? Today, we have a massive flush out in terms of the volume. We've got tons of bears stepping in and selling as we are stepping into these EMA ribbons. We've bounced right back up to our 786 Fibonacci. You can see, from this low to the high, we have broken to the downside of it, but nonetheless, we didn't quite wipe out the floor. We didn't come down to our first price target at the 1.618. We bounced up to the 786, almost wicked up to the 618, and we've been rejected. We're sitting in the daily EMA ribbons right now, and it looks like we're about to flush to the downside. And before we do move into the much lower time frames for green Metaverse token, I would like to show you Bitcoin's momentum indicators. Now, you might not care what Bitcoin's doing if you're here for green Metaverse token, but the fact of the matter is, all of the altcoins are hinging on what Bitcoin's next move is right now. If Bitcoin starts to capitulate from this short-term uptrend that we've been in, then everything is going to start landsliding. So what is happening with the momentum indicators for Bitcoin? The squeeze momentum indicators making lower highs. We are switching over to dark green, which is indicative that we're running out of steam, and we're probably going to start falling below 21,000 in the next couple of days. What's the MACD saying? We've got a lower high on the MACD. The MACD is flipping to the downside. What do we see with the on-balance volume? You've got high, lower high, lower high, lower high, lower high, lower high, lower high, and it just seems like we're slowly trickling to the downside. And there's a saying when it comes to this, slowly trickle, and then flood. So what this means is, yes, we're going to start slowly making lower lows and lower highs, and then boom, you're going to see that next major move back down to the downside. And I think this is going to wipe the floor with 21,000 Bitcoin. We're probably going to start heading back down. And what is this going to mean for GMT? It's probably going to mean that this is also going to get slapped back down to the downside. Now, we are still on the upside of the 4-hourly EMA ribbons, and to be honest, the move that we recently saw for green Metaverse token was very impressive. We moved up 106%, which is somewhat similar to what green Satoshi token did, but nonetheless, I actually think if we extrapolate this trend line, look at that. From this trend line here, where this was previous support, we broke below it, we never revisited it. What have we done in the past day? We've bounced up to it, we've confirmed it as resistance, and we are now moving down. So we've got a ton of bearish volume stepping in as well, which this is very 50-50. So based on the volume alone, I wouldn't want to say that this is bearish in of itself, because what you actually want to see if you are starting to witness a trickle to the downside would be something like this, where you've got bearish volume, bearish volume, bearish volume, bearish volume, and you start to head up to the upside. And this is exactly what we saw back to back with this. You saw green volume heading to the upside, and because of this, we were able to have this dead cat bounce, bouncing up to previous resistance. But right now with the volume, I think we're losing volume and we're losing momentum in sellers because a lot of people are keeping their eyes on Bitcoin. We're at a very crucial decision right now. The moving averages, the momentum indicators are all starting to push back down. And I think, once again, this is going to trickle over into what we're seeing for green Metaverse token. The money flow indicator looks like it's topped as well. We are still in a basic uptrend on this, and I would also like to highlight this is on the 4 hour, so sometimes we do top out, head back down, reset the momentum, and then head back to the upside. So based on that itself, that wouldn't necessarily tell you too much about the market structure, so we'd need to zoom out. When in doubt, zoom out. And, you know, once again, this is why I'm really not the biggest fan of trend lines, because based on this, you would say we're having a bullish breakout, but the market structure is absolutely not changed. From here, this is still a lower high from here, actually. So we could be bouncing up and retesting this previous resistance that we've got on the money flow indicator. If we come up to 71.5 and then head back down to the downside, then there's going to be a lot of money that could flow out of the market, and potentially sellers would be stepping in and letting go of their green metaverse token in favor of buying Bitcoin. And why would this make sense? Well, the Bitcoin dominance has been heading down for the past couple of weeks, and it's starting. You know, once again, I really don't want to, you know, gas this up and pretend that we're initiating a major move to the upside, because we're really kind of just lollygagging right now. But we are lollygagging and holding a very important level of support right now. I think the Bitcoin dominance is going to start stepping back in, and I think we're getting ready for that next major move to the upside. We're still in our orange box. If you're wondering what these orange boxes are, this is how I have my fibs. I draw from, you know, low to high in an uptrend, obviously high to low in a downtrend, and this orange box constitutes the 0.5, 618, and 786 Fibonacci, the most important Fibonaccis that we would need to keep our eyes on. So from the low to the high on the BTC dominance, we're still in a major area of support. And if we do start to head back to the upside right now, what's this going to be? This is going to be a macro confirmed W breakout back to the upside, which could definitely be pretty nasty if you are an altcoin holder right now, because once again, I think the dominance is going to start stepping back in, and this is going to slap down a lot of the altcoins. So what would we need to see, at least in the lower time frames, to potentially see continuation over on green metaverse token? Well, very simply, you know, like I said, if we clear up the market structure, once again, we have an onslaught of highs, lower highs, lower highs, lower highs, lower highs, and the last major lower high that we actually had was right here at 131. So if we do not take out 131, if we do not push above this, come back down and back test daily EMA ribbons and then get continuation, I'm telling you, this is a fact. We are probably setting up for another bearish retest right now, and we're probably soon going to start capitulating to the downside. I really don't like looking at the hourly time frame. I almost never do it, but you can already see there is a ton of sellers stepping into the market. There's a very 50-50 mix of volume going on right now, but you have, this was the 786 Fibonacci, this was your 618 Fibonacci right here, and what we've done is we've bounced up, emmed out, and we are now breaking below these major areas of support. If we start capitulating below 94 cent, this is obviously going to trickle over into the 4-hourly time frame. If we then start losing 91 cent, you're going to see a big flush down to 82 cent, and then if you see a break below 82, once again, my macro price target for the bear market low of GMT is going to be all the way down here. So I'm personally predicting for this type of move to happen, and this is very conservative, because from this low, this would literally only be another 56% flush out to the downside. I mean, the market cap is almost 600 million, which is very high for what this cryptocurrency is. So, you know, bear in mind, at least in my opinion, this cryptocurrency should definitely not be sitting around 600 million, at least for what it is. That's just my opinion. Nonetheless, I really do think we're getting ready for that next flush out to the downside. So we've talked about pretty much everything for green metaverse token. I'd also like to show you that this is majorly underperforming Bitcoin. If we look at its all-time chart, once again, unfortunately, I don't believe, I check this out every now and then, but I don't believe, oh, we do have a GMT BTC, that is my bad. So if we actually pull back our GMT BTC chart, you can very much see low to the high, depending on where you're drawing this from, because I guess if we drew this down here, you'd actually be getting kind of stuck around the 618 right now. I've got it drawn down here from basically the start of the macro trend. And what we've done is we're bouncing up. The 618 is going to be a major area of resistance coming in right now. And similarly for the USD pair, I also think we're getting ready for a flush out. 65% drop against Bitcoin is what I personally see coming into fruition. But if you don't like looking at the fibs, we can just look all-time high, lower high, lower high, lower high, lower high, lower high, and right now this is still a lower high. So if we do start topping out at the levels that we are at right now, if we do not start pushing above these macro levels, for example, where was the previous high? 131, 130. If we do not start pushing above these levels, then this is just going to be another dead cat bounce, and we're subsequently going to start heading very, very quickly to the downside. So that is all I've got for GMT. If this is your first time watching my channel, first of all, warm welcome. I'm not a hater of GMT by any means. I always have a saying on my channel: I don't love it, I don't hate it, I trade it. The only cryptocurrency that I want to hold for the long term is Bitcoin, and I'm a trader. I use these altcoins to accumulate more Bitcoin. So, and if you go through my videos, you will actually see I was one of the first YouTubers that started covering green Metaverse token, and I actually told everyone I was buying around about 20 to 30 cent, and I soon sold all of my green Metaverse token near the top when the 4-hourly EMA ribbons flipped bearish at $3.44. Once again, this is all documented on my YouTube. You can see 4-hourly EMA ribbons flip bearish around about the 3rd to the 4th of May. So if you want to go back test that, for sure, go check it out. If you want to check out my videos where I was talking about buying on this retest of the 4-hourly EMAs, I think it was 31 cent is when I got in, you can go check that out. So once again, if you're new to the channel, you might be hearing me saying, you know, this is going down another 75% and I don't believe that it deserves the market cap. That is in no means indicative that I do not like this project or I'm a hater of this project. I'm simply looking at this objectively. And once again, you can go back and verify I was bearish since $3.45. And if you've been bullish since up here and you've been DCAing, then it is a fact that you've been getting absolutely wrecked. The only time that DCAing has paid out is if you bought the exact bottom down here at 55 cent, and I do not think this is going to be the bottom. I think we're going to be moving back down to the downside to some of my lower price targets. So with that being said, the most macro level that we have is this 1.618 from this low to this high. If we draw from this low all the way up to the bounce that we had here, very, very nice market structure. 1.618 is all the way down here at 23 cent. We've also got a 2.618 Fibonacci also right here at 26 cent. So there's going to be a high level of confluence round about the 26 to 23 cent level. Also, the next major area down is sitting at 9.7 cent. Now, at this moment in time, I'm not calling for lower than 23 cent. I'm calling for 23 cent. And when we get closer to this price target, I'm going to re-evaluate the market structure. We'll see what is going on in the charts, and subsequently we will decide whether we are bullish or bearish at that moment in time. Let's wrap up with the squeeze momentum indicator so we can get a good gauge on what the momentum is saying right now. And what do you notice? We are getting ready for that next move back down to the downside. Now, once again, I would like to highlight the last time we did this, we simply retested the 4-hourly EMAs, which is once again why I'm telling you it's not necessarily bearish in itself, just looking at the squeeze one, but the fact that we've tied together, you know, the money flow indicator, we've talked about the higher time frames, we've talked about the market structure. If we start heading down now, we are going to be solidifying this previous resistance, and we're going to be making once again another lower high in the market structure. The 4-hourly bearish flip on the squeeze bomb is probably going to mean that we're not going to be able to hold the 91 cent. Subsequently, we're going to trickle below the 4-hourly EMAs. This is going to allow the rejection of the daily EMAs to solidify, and subsequently the money flow indicator, which is already heading up to levels that is almost overbought, is going to start heading down very, very quickly. Market structure as well on the oscillators is the exact same. All we're seeing on the oscillators is lower highs, so not really looking too good in my opinion. But once again, I'm sitting on the sideline. I've been sitting on the sideline for green Metaverse token since $3.45, and thank God we have, because at some point in time I am going to be buying a lot of GMT, I'm going to be buying a lot of GST, and I might even look at picking up some of the sneakers over on the STEPN app, which I haven't done thus far. I'm not really interested in buying NFTs of sneakers in a bear market while we're literally in recession territory, which is once again, you know, another reason why I don't think that buying these move to earns is going to work out while we're in a bear market. Once we've bottomed, I have no doubt in my mind that GMT, GST, FITFI, some of the other move to earns are going to have massive runs up. And because I've been sitting on the sidelines, because I've been hodling fiat and waiting to enter these altcoins, I'm going to be in a better position than the people who've been DCAing this all the way down, because I can bulk buy at levels where I believe the bottom is almost in. that's all I've got for GMT. As always, hope you enjoyed today's content. Hope you found some value in it. And yeah, cowboy out. Peace.